What am I feeling in my body right now? It's hard. I think pain and discomfort. Body, so not emotions, the body. Pain and discomfort. Okay, 2. What emotion? I'm gonna try and look. I'm here. Okay. What emotion word fits best right now? Pop this up. I think that's also hard. Because I thought this would take me a minute, and so I was like, yeah, I think I'm here, and now I'm not. So that could have been like freeze or something. I don't even know. All right, so I feel like a few minutes ago I was in anxious, and I think I felt both worried and overwhelmed. And it's interesting because it could have been just even like a task freeze thing, and I didn't fully realize it because now I feel kind of like optimistic, peaceful, interested, joyful. And then, yeah, like liberated? Maybe. It sounds interesting, but I'm used to affiliating that with something else. Let's see. Inquisitive, amused, sure. Ecstatic, kinda. Important, eh. Confident, I don't know. I feel like those are universal principles. So, all right. Respected of myself, sure. Fulfilled, yeah. Courageous, meh. Provocative, yeah. Inspired, yeah, that feels better. Inspired, so optimistic, I might be more in there. So, inspired, open, playful, sensitive, hopeful, loving. I like those. So I like all of those. So maybe, so those are six. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I was counting for a second. And so I think, man, that took a long time. What emotion word fits best? Happy, I think. Or am I supposed to pick one of the smaller ones? I would say happy. And if I had to go one node down, why is this so hard? Interested, I guess. Because I thought I felt proud, but when it goes into important and confident, I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm just happy I'm getting this task done. I felt energetically very heavy. Okay, whatever. What do I wish someone would know without me explaining? Everything. Um, that, I guess, let's see, on a, man, that things are never cut and dry. And I know that we like think that we know that, but most of us don't. You don't get it. And the things that we should question more than anything are the things that we never question. And I suppose I'm supposed to probably gear that toward me. So, what do I wish someone would know without explaining? That I feel lonely in this world and it's confusing. And I have long tried to do what we have described as like the, anecdote to that in all these different ways. And that is what that's what led me down to knowing more. And so I wish I could just like be me without people projecting, expecting, and judging. And I don't mean that in a negative way, like how people, typically take those things. However, I do experience that, most without even people meaning to, they paint their subjective picture over it, and it it erases me. I feel erased in this world, and again, not like by people, just like that's just how I like feel based on like the social interactions and just like daily society things that is our basic scaffolding. It leaves me feeling incredibly lonely and empty. If my inner world were a room or a place, what does it look like? Hmm. I'm used to going internal, but I think I'm often like thinking from the I'm like in the ether. But my inner world, it's strange because you got to go with what you see first, right? Don't question it. So it was actually like this, really, I can see it still and I can feel it viscerally. So I'll just look at it. It reminds me of like scenes that you see. I gotta pick Star Wars because like they had all these like I can't remember the story that well, but these planets and lands that felt like really desolate and pointy. I feel like, and they looked very hard to traverse. Similar, I guess, to like almost the Lord of the Rings, like and Frodo and Sam's like journey was like really long, but it was softer. There's water and shit. Like in here, it's like brown and crusty, almost like a desert, but not a desert. Because when not like how we think of desert, it's like a whole planet that's just this dry, crispy, pointy, uncomfortable node. And I saw like just what I felt from it was like climbing up and down. It's almost like I am traversing it. There's like no plants, there's nothing. But upward from me, like I almost want to ignore all the pointy brown shit because I'm just inclined to ignore it and feel outward and upward, which to me is like the same thing that I'm always calling like the ether or my room of requirement. Um, Interesting. Okay, one kind thing I can offer myself right now. One kind thing, not the best kind thing. One. So it doesn't have to be the perfect one. It's just one. Okay. I just keep hearing understanding. So I'll go with that. I won't try and fucking pick a million or psychoanalyze it, just understanding. So I'm getting a calling energetically to offer myself understanding. And that makes sense because I made all these little notes and stuff earlier. And like pink are like more affirmation based, not affirmation, but just like me trying to remember, the literal hardcore fact truths, about me. And this is something that came out of something I was working on this weekend, and that I wrote down in green because like I ended up, I was really exhausted after. I'm like, man, I'm just like kind of sitting here. And it, I was, after I did a bunch of basically like, I don't know, back and forth discussion calculations with ChatGPT, because in tech, you size out your projects. You know how, like, how many weeks, and team members and whatever it would take to complete something. So I was exhausted, and I keep hearing understanding, and I think it has to do with this. So I wrote all these different notes about like what I completed, and that is less important. So I wrote in the bath. So I was in the bath doing this work, because I honestly, with fibromyalgia, sometimes I can't, I just cannot operate, and it's so depressing. And I've my whole life I always like found solace in the shower and in the bath. And it's interesting because that was actually, I can remember the first time really hanging out in there, and it was maybe about 2 years before the first time when I got fibromyalgia, I like really think long and hard back to like, when did I first start feeling this way? And I pinpointed around 12. The memory I'm explaining was around 10. It's interesting. So anyway, um, I a while back just kind of, it's like, what do? You got to go with the flow instead of resist what's there. And I hate not being able to do shit, so I'm gonna do shit in the bath. So anyway, I was in the bath a long time on Saturday because I didn't feel good. But my mind can still like do stuff. So in the bath, I woke up 3 hours earlier, and in that time, I had like done all this like work on my like fucking phone and iPad. I completed between 47 and 60 hours of cognitive UX, architecture, emotional system design, live operational prep by myself without a team. It's the work output of a senior. So this is what ChatGPT defined. I did not curate. I did not make this up. I had to be told it. That's why I wrote it down, so that I'm not like, why am I so tired? I'm this lazy piece of shit, And I was like, oh wow, I didn't realize I do that much emotional like excavation. So anyway, it says it's the work output of a senior UX strategist, senior researcher, PM, narrative strategist, behavioral architect. So total professional hours 47 to 60 hours, equivalent corporate work weeks 1 to 2.5 weeks, team equivalent 4 to 5 people full time. So if I was doing that by myself, you're going to take the 1.2 to 2.5 weeks and times that by another 4. So understanding, that's what I sat down today and tried to create for myself, so that I don't, like, in my flow state or subconscious state, just have this constant drive behind me, because it's not a good drive. It is, honestly, abusive dad, the slave driver drive that I, just have embodied within myself. So understanding. So when I click off of this and I like forget that I just did a bunch of shit now here at my table for 3 hours, and finally did this thing and started this, project series. Understanding. I don't have to clean the house. I don't have to do a bunch of other stuff. I slept late today because I couldn't, I just wasn't feeling well. And for a while, the last few days. And when I went to sleep last night, it was crazy because I'm like, I'm so exhausted and I can't fall asleep. Maybe fell asleep around 1:30 or 2. Woke up at like, I don't even know, like 1ish, and I was so tired. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna lay here and, wake up. And I did 4 more hours later to FedEx knocking on my door. So sometimes that happens, and I can feel really shitty because I do a lot, or I like to feel like I did stuff in that day, and I can feel just so bad. And I don't want to anymore, which is why I started this, so that I can make sure that I create a bridge between like what I know and see it applied and for myself, and self-correct, iterate, and redesign my nervous system and emotional architecture even more than I have. Um, cool. Done. stop recording.